When she said, "It's normal to chill with male friends," she said it like an anthem, casual, confident, like she was teaching me how to live. I listened and nodded, pretending the words landed softly. But the way she said normal felt rehearsed, as if she was setting rules she intended to keep for herself. The sentence settled in my head and grew teeth. If this was truly a two-way normal, then it should be able to bear the same test on both of us. So the very next day I texted an old colleague I trusted and arranged a harmless catch-up, coffee, no agenda, nothing to hide. I told myself I was only checking the mirror. When I mentioned it to my wife, her reply was short and clipped, "Who is she?" I told her the name and added that it was nothing, just a friendly meet. She said, "Okay," but the tone was brittle. Her small silence felt like an accusation, and I filed it away. The coffee was exactly what I said it would be: polite conversation, shared memories, the kind of easy laughter that belonged to people who had known each other in another life. Still, my head kept snapping back to my wife's earlier declaration. Would she mean it for both of us, or had she only meant to buy herself a free pass? Back home, the air was different. She moved through the apartment like a person checking for hazards. She asked how my day was, how traffic was, whether the coffee was any good. When I said it had been fine, she closed her eyes briefly, as if tasting something sour. Over the next week, the imbalance became a pattern. She stayed late at work dinners. She laughed on the phone and silenced it when I entered the room. Names appeared and disappeared on her screen. Her normal, for herself, looked a lot like secrecy. My normal became suspicion. I didn't explode. I collected. I kept screenshots of strange messages she claimed were from clients. I wrote down dates and times of nights that never added up. I saved copies of a handful of conversations that, when read together, sketched a web she hadn't meant me to see. I turned my hurt into a ledger. When I confronted her, I expected denials, maybe anger, maybe a plea. Instead she pivoted into indignation, calling me jealous, small-minded, controlling. Her words were fast and practiced. Her eyes slid away when I read aloud the fragments I'd saved. She blamed stress, loneliness, the need for adult conversation. The excuses felt thin. She tried to flip the script by accusing me of invasion of privacy. She said trust is a two-way street and that my snooping had crossed a line. I let her speak. I let her believe for a moment that she still had the narrative. Then I closed the ledger and said nothing more that night. I decided on a different kind of answer, not loud and not illegal, but precise. I would expose the double standard in a place where she could no longer pretend everything was normal. I invited a handful of mutual friends to dinner under the pretense of celebrating a promotion I didn't have. I made sure the guest list included people who mattered, friends who trusted my word and people who had seen her work nights. On the night, I kept my voice calm and my hands steady. We ate, made small talk, and then I asked for everyone to remain for a short speech. She laughed nervously, trying to make light of it, but the room hummed with curiosity. I pulled out my phone and, with a clarity that surprised even me, began to read the messages and describe the timeline I'd pieced together. I did not shout. I did not embellish. I displayed the texts, showed the late-night location she'd given, and connected the dots between lies and alibis. The table grew quiet, faces shifting as things they hadn't known about our marriage unfolded in plain daylight. I watched as her practiced composure cracked. Her first reaction was fury, then pleading, and finally a brittle, stunned silence. People who had admired her work ethic and warmth now looked at her like strangers. The friend she'd claimed as a colleague sat very still, unable to make eye contact. The normal she had declared for herself had turned into evidence against her. After the dinner, she tried to rally, to explain, to reframe. But the damage was done. Her words landed like stones in a pond. The ripples reached friends, family, and the person she'd been seeing outside our home. The man who had been careful enough to keep secrets now had to answer to a room full of witnesses. I didn't gloat. I simply reclaimed what she had tried to steal: fairness. The revenge I wanted was never violence or ruin, it was truth and consequence. I wanted her to feel the weight of the rules she'd set only for herself and to watch her scramble for excuses in front of people who mattered. In the weeks that followed, she moved out. The apartment felt emptier, but cleaner, in a way. As for me, I closed the ledger, deleted the last of the messages I'd saved, and kept the memory of that evening as a quiet talisman. Revenge, I learned, isn't always about breaking someone. Sometimes it's about restoring balance, walking away with your dignity, and letting the truth be the punishment.